Hi, I'm Novel Mike, and this is my opinion. So it's time to talk about The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 2, finally. I've been playing it nonstop since it came out last week, and oh my god, I love this game. But instead of talking about like the plot or anything like that now, I just really want to talk about the main like features of the game essentially and why it's better than the first game. So first off, the plot. In the first game, you didn't really get to a plot until like the fourth chapter, and until then it was just introducing everyone and character development. Like that's all the first half of the game essentially was. Whereas in this game, you pretty much know who the characters are, so they don't spend a lot of time reintroducing them to you, and so you just basically get to experience the plot firsthand, and it's constant plot forwardness. Like there's no breaks or anything like that where you have the days where you're at the academy and then you go out and do the field studies and that's where the plot can start to happen. It's all plot constantly, and sometimes they do let you still do bonding events and stuff like that, but they happen on certain days, and essentially you just have like that little bonding events thing, and maybe there's an extra quest you can do, but it's not like several hours of the game is taken out of to do that kind of stuff. It lasts maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and then you're right back in the plot stuff. And the plot does advance rather quickly, and that's one thing that's nice about the game, is that it's just paced a lot better. Part of the reasoning for that is because the game, instead of like the first game takes place each chapter over the course of like 6 months or 7 months or something like that, whereas this game seems to take place all in the span of 1 month. So essentially because of that, like you're constantly, seeing how the days advance and whatnot. It doesn't go day by day really, but you get to see essentially what's going on in the story and how the story is basically taking place in maybe a month or so, whereas the first game just dragged on for like 6 months before anything really happened. And one of the major problems I think that the first game had was in its battle system. I love the battle system, it was great, but crafts felt very powerful, and arts really didn't feel very powerful. Where in this game, they're much more balanced. Arts seem to do a lot more damage, especially attacking ones, and they seem to cast faster, whereas crafts are not as strong, and S-breaks are still like really overpowered and whatnot, but normal crafts, you quickly meet enemies that just have a ton of HP, like more than 10,000 after just a few hours into the game, and so just the normal crafts, they don't do as much damage. You can still use them to unbalance stuff, and they're great for quick AoE and that kind of thing, but you don't rely on them 100% of the time. And another reason for that is because they've definitely made it so physical attack can miss much more often. You really need to attach a hit quartz or some kind of accessory that boosts hit, and because of that, it makes you customize your characters a little bit more uniquely. You can't just throw like everything that boosts the attack on Laura and nothing else and just go with that, or just putting a ton of stats stuff on Machias or all invasion stuff on Fee, that kind of thing. You can still do that, but because you need other attributes as well, it does make you think a little bit more about what you need. I do think S-breaks are still really overpowered, especially Laura. Holy crap, she can break the game. Like when she's doing 50% in one hit on the first turn on bosses, may need to turn it down a little bit in Cold Steel 3 Falcom, because holy cow, she is broken at times. But overall, both those things work better, and crafts are okay that they're a little bit weaker now, because it does feel like you're not, okay, I don't need to just do Gale every turn on Rain, I don't need to just do whatever the spin thing Laura does with her sword that does AoE. Okay, do I want to do a quick thing here, or do I want to do real damage with arts, that kind of thing. And you can still have characters built the same way you want. Like Fee is still an amazing evasion tank, and you can get her evasion really, really high in this game fairly quickly with the right setup, not just quartz, but with accessories and stuff and equips. And she can just basically just be near unkillable outside of arts, which is really great. And every character has its still own unique way to play them and their own use. No one ever feels like they aren't useful in some way, shape, or form. Part of the other thing that really makes this game great is how much more open it is. You do still like have a hub city, at least in the beginning of the game, and then go out to different areas and explore and whatnot, but it's not as linear as it was before in terms of like how you're exploring. You're not, okay, I need to go to this highway first and then this highway. It will give you direction, but you're still free to generally go out and look at different places. Although it is still blocking you off early on, eventually the game does open up and you can go pretty much all over the country, at least the country that you've seen. They still don't really include anything from Western Arabonia, which I don't understand. Like they reference it a lot, but they don't actually talk about, what's going on there. Maybe that will be a Cold Steel 3 thing. We'll see. And because of the game is much more open, your party selection is also much more open. In the first game, when you went on field studies, you would have to, have your set party that you would have to use, and then in the old schoolhouse, outside of certain interactions, you would generally have certain characters that don't want to be grouped together, or something like that, or it'd take a long time for everybody to be unlocked. But once you've gotten all of Class 7 back together again and everything, it does essentially let you just switch party members in and out, and it does have a lot more availability for who you want to use. They still make you take certain characters on certain missions and stuff like that, but it's not like a whole party is set up for you. You can still pretty much take whoever you want most of the time, and if you don't like the party member they're forcing you to take, just put them as support and you don't have to use them most of the time. I do think that a lot of the features that they've added to the game are really cool. Like one of the new minigames is snowboarding. It's not super challenging, but it is a fun little distraction that you can do, and you get rewarded for it once you clear it for the first time. And there's other nice little mini features like that too, like the same time where you can do snowboarding, you also have this hot spring, and when you go to that, you can essentially refill your HP, your EP, and your CP. So because of that, you essentially get 200 CP whenever you want, especially once you can start traveling all around the country and whatnot. So essentially it makes it so there's just a lot more things to do in the game, and it's still nice getting to catch up with all the characters that you met through the first game in these towns and seeing not only how they're doing with everything that's going on, but with the story, but also seeing what they've been up to. One of the first people I was really surprised to meet up with, not in like a big plot way, but you just see them, is the two market guys from Celtic. And the first game they are like fighting against each other because the nobles basically screwed something up on purpose, and so they're fighting a lot. In this game they've actually worked together, and they're actually working together and running like two different stores together instead of just fighting against each other all the time. And it's nice to see stuff like that, and you get to see a lot of the Thord students that have left the academy essentially, and they're out and about, and you can see how some of them have been separated and all the chaos, and you can try to like get everybody back together and whatnot. And there's just a lot of unique stuff like that to do, and it's really, really fun to actually get to see all the storylines that kind of just ended abruptly in the first game get continued in this one. And I'm really surprised with how much development they still give characters in this game. Like, one of the minor spoiler here with Fee, but two of the like bad guys, for example, that you fight against are her former teammates from her Jaeger Corps. And essentially, when you finally get a chance to actually sit down and talk with them, instead of talking about anything else, they just want to know how she's doing. And like one of the first things Rhys said is, how she ranked in the school exam and how proud of they are that she's doing this. Like, it does a really good job of personalizing the villains for the most part, and it really makes you understand that like, everybody here, they're all still people, just fighting for different beliefs, or in the case of the Jaegers, they're fighting because they're paid to do it, but they don't want to, they're not like cackling evil or anything like that. There's like one guy who is, but even then, like, there is still some depth to him. And all the sporting characters in the game are just so much fun to see again, and it's nice to see how even like smaller storylines from the first game, like the marketing guys or the whole Celtic market, and how that like advances in this game. If you haven't played Cold Steel 1, absolutely play that before you start playing this. And there's just a lot that I haven't covered here that I need to talk about, but this is already going on near 10 minutes, so I don't want to talk too much more. But everything in this game is essentially better than the first one, and it expands the first one much better than I've seen really any sequel do in a long time. I've often in my mind made comparisons to this and the Tales of Xillia 1 and 2, and how much better this is than how they did those, because it continues the same storyline without trying to do anything too crazy, whereas Xillia 2 kind of went completely off the rails right from the get-go. But anyway, I'm Novel Mike. Thank you for watching. Play Trails of Cold Steel 2. It is amazing. Play the first game if you haven't already, and if you haven't, I'm sorry if you watched this and that spoiled anything for you, and I really do hope that everyone's enjoying the game, because it is fantastic, and I can't wait to play more. That's what I'm going to go do right now. So, see ya. Bye.